Hello and welcome to the Hoopets podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Suckle tonight.
A little less festive
Day,
tonight, Mike. I'm a little less festive than last week.
all right, well there you go. Day after Christmas, so we got an opportunity to watch some Christmas NBA and then some games tonight that we're going to briefly touch on a couple of key things that went on here on December 26th. Let's start there, and
Hey,
then we'll
the
go
Cavs are
jump
no
into the
longer
Christmas games.
The Cavs are no longer in the record book for the longest losing streak in the NBA, Mike, in history.
Beautiful, beautiful. The Detroit Pistons.
Trey Pistons, who by the way started the game up. I don't know if you saw this, Mike. Did you see that they started the game up 26 to 6 and they still lost the game?
I mean, I don't even really know what to say about the Pistons. It, the I guess the biggest thing that I take away from the Detroit Pistons is what is Monty Williams? That guy is just. I mean, he might legitimately be just stealing money from the Detroit organization. When you start talking about what they've become and just the lineups that he played, I don't know if anything. I didn't watch the game. I don't know what really happened, but Asor Thompson played 9 minutes tonight in that game, and anytime I've watched that guy play, to me, he just seems like, again, I know he's a
9 minutes is
rookie, but
being generous, Mike. He played 8 minutes and 32 seconds.
okay, sorry. They rounded up to 8 on ESPN on the box score. So, how that dude plays 8 minutes when you've lost 27 games in a row, I just don't understand. And I know Cade had 41 tonight, and it just feels like that franchise
Joe Harris
is.
got 0 minutes. Marvin Bagley Jr. 0 minutes. I
Well,
just
Joe Harris has his whole family in town. The whole family's in Detroit because I got the Christmas well wishes from Joe Harris Sr. So
well
with the family photo,
they're
they're all
oh
in
yeah,
Detroit.
but
They're
they
all in
didn't get to see
Detroit.
his kid. They didn't get to see his kid play.
Yeah, did not get to see him play, which I'm not sure that's a good or a bad thing in this case. But yeah, Detroit's a mess. I don't know what you do there. Monty Williams, any other coach, if he hadn't just signed to become the highest paid coach in the league, probably would have been fired at this point. And I don't know when that streak ends. It's going to be a while because I know that these two games were probably against Brooklyn back to back here were probably their two most winnable games over the next week to 10 days. So you might be looking at it could be a while. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't
One
know
thing I
what's. I'm gonna pull up their schedule because I don't know what their schedule is, Mike. But I mean, listen, it's an embarrassment. They're 2-28, Mike. They're not gonna. Are they like where are they gonna end? Like like are they?
I give Cade credit for going for 41 tonight and just saying, hey, I'm not I'm not trying to have this. So kudos to Cade. Here's their next games at the Celtics,
That's a loss.
home for the Raptors,
That's
eh,
that's 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 winnable.
at Houston, at Utah, at Golden State, at Denver, home for the Kings, host the
January
Spurs
10th.
on
It's January 10th.
January 10th,
If it
hosting
doesn't
the
happen,
Spurs.
if it does not happen by the new year, it's looking like. I mean,
Well, they get
Utah's
then they have
theoretic.
Wizards, Hornets, Wizards. They have, let's see, in the month of January they have
Man,
Spurs, Wizards,
they get to be on
Hornets,
ESPN
and Wizards
on
again. They have
January
four.
12th, Mike.
They have they have four they have four theoretically winnable games
They've got one
in
ESPN game,
January.
January 12th. January 12th, they're going to get on ESPN after winning a game. That's going to be their
You know why that game's on ESPN?
no why.
The Thompson twins. So the first matchup between the two of them.
Well, are they going to play? Is Sir going to play 9 minutes, or what is he
And
going to?
Is Amen back? I don't know if Amen's even back in the lineup yet from being injured. I feel like he is,
Yeah,
but
yeah. He played the other day. He played the other day.
but he's not playing a whole lot. I know that he's
Yeah.
not playing a whole lot. So
Listen.
anyway, all
All
right,
right.
that's enough Pistons talk. Give me your next
Yeah.
topic from tonight.
The next topic for tonight is Andre Drummond, Mike. Well, here I'm going to read you Andre Drummond's stat line. Okay. He started tonight. He doesn't typically start. 24 in 38 minutes. 24 points, 25 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks. He was 11 of 13 from the field. 2 of 2 from the line. He had 10 offensive rebounds and 15 defensive rebounds, propelling the Chicago Bulls to a 118 to 113 win. He is the first player in NBA history since 1986. I don't know if first player in the NBA since 1986 to have the stat line of the 20, 24, 25, 3 and 2. Who was the last player in 1986 to do that, Mike?
1986. 25 points.
24 points, 20,
25 rebounds. 1986. Man.
With 3 steals and 2 blocks. Oh, and first player to reach those numbers on 80-plus field goal percentage since who in 1986? He's a round mound.
I was my first. Okay, so obviously I know who that is. So it's Barkley. But my guess was going to be Akeem was going to be my guess.
It was Charles Barkley, Mike.
All right, there you go.
That's pretty impressive. Andre Drummond.
Bulls have won 5 out of 6.
They didn't win. Yeah, then number 6 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they lost.
Yeah, it was the only team to beat them. So, all right, enough Bulls talk. Next topic for tonight.
The Memphis Grizzlies, 4 in a row. Your picks are looking a little better now, Mike.
Jaws brought it to life. Jaws brought my Pistons losses. I'm feeling pretty good about that one. Pistons losses is a positive. Memphis wins is starting to creep back in the right direction. 4-0. Theoretically, right, you could have anticipated this in terms of Ja probably was first or second team All-NBA before the shenanigans started. And I don't care what team you're talking about. You take a guy who's first or second team All-NBA off that team, and things aren't probably going to go well. Plus, you compound that with the loss of oh God, what's his name? No,
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams. I wanted to say I kept in my head. I was stuck on Steven Jackson.
Hey,
Steven Adams.
Listen, I thought you could have said Bryant Reeves, maybe, Mike. That would have been another name.
Brandon Clark with the torn Achilles being out, so they clearly have not just been missing Ja, but bringing Ja back into the lineup and just what he brings to the table, both as a scorer, as a passer, as a facilitator. Obviously, it's made a huge difference. And so Memphis.
Don't look now, only 4.5 games out of a playoff spot, Mike. Play-in tournament spot.
It's not inconceivable. Seems unlikely, but not inconceivable based on what they've done in these first 4 games.
Here, let me just tell you. Let me just tell you about the teams that are above them in the West. The Clippers have lost 2 in a row, although it looks like they're going to win tonight. Pelicans lost 2 in a row. Rockets have lost 2 out of 3. The Lakers have been on a friggin' nosedive since the in-season tournament. The Golden State Warriors have lost 2 out of 3. Phoenix has lost 3 in a row. Those are the teams ahead of them. And listen. We were doubting last week that there was any chance that they could get out of there. But the West was all of a sudden just a war of attrition going on in the West, and lots of injuries, lots of nonsense and tomfoolery. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, you can just hope to play San Antonio, and because they're terrible. They're terrible. Like, God almighty. You saw Wemby. Yeah. You saw Wemby got hurt in the warm-up line yesterday, right?
I did. I did.
Was that yesterday or 2 days ago? Yeah, whatever.
That was before Christmas, but yeah.
Yeah. So, like, listen, I don't know what to say other than the West isn't looking as – listen, I almost feel like the NBA is going through what the NFL is going through. There's a lot of mediocrity and teams in the middle, and there's so many teams that are probably going to be playoff, like, have a chance at the playoffs because these teams are just there's not more than 2 or 3 teams separating themselves, and everyone else is kind of just hanging out. I don't know how you feel on it, but I kind of feel like the NBA is going through a lot of what the NFL is going through currently.
It's not so much. I don't know. I guess what I look at it, I think we kind of anticipated this. It depends on how you look at these teams in the middle,
Or you
right? Are
say
these good
competitive, or like
teams?
competitive balance is better, I
Right.
guess. Maybe.
Are these good teams or are these bad teams? I don't know how to parse that out in terms of how you think about some of these teams
I
in
mean,
spots 5 through 12 in each conference. I don't know.
I,
Are the Clippers good? Do we think the Rockets are good? How do we feel about the Knicks? I think a lot of these teams, I would say to me, I think I don't want to say they're good teams, but I certainly don't think these teams are bad teams. I just think we have more team. When you look at the bottom of each of the conferences, I think you have five you have five bad teams. You have Charlotte, Washington, Detroit, Portland, and San Antonio. Those are five bad teams. And then I think you have a couple teams. Utah, I would put Utah in this category. I would put Toronto in this category. I would put Atlanta in this category. I put Chicago in this category. And I'd probably put Brooklyn in this category, where those are teams that are, eh, they're not bad, but I wouldn't say they were good. To me, those are mediocre teams. And then once you get to the top eight in the East, I think those are relatively good teams,
yeah.
depending on, I guess you could maybe make an argument. In the West, I don't know. Is Golden State bad? Is Phoenix bad? Are the Lakers bad? I still think those teams are good teams. On any given night, I think they can beat a team that's above them in the standings. So I think it's a case of we have five really bad teams. Then we've got a tier of mediocrity, and then we got some teams who are good, but a lot of teams that are good but not great, and we have no idea how those teams are going to finish. That's what I would say.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough, Mike.
Anybody
I
can beat anybody. I mean, I think it's like we talked about at the beginning of the season. It
except
feels
for the
like
Pistons.
there you go. But I mean, when you go into a game, right? When you go into the game with any of these teams, like I don't go into a game with the Cavs and say, "Oh, we're playing Phoenix. They're the 11th seed in the West. That's an automatic win." I don't look at it and say, "Oh, tonight we got Brooklyn. We're gonna win that game, no problem." Atlanta, like Atlanta's not very good, but I don't feel like you could just walk into Atlanta and say we're going to beat them on any given night. I think there's only five teams that you can look at and say you should win. You give a decent effort and you should beat Portland, San Antonio, Detroit, Washington, or Charlotte. But any of these other teams, if you don't come to play, you're going to get beat because I think those teams are all decent to better than decent. So
Yep.
that's where I
Okay.
sit with that.
Yep. Okay. All right. We're gonna move in to the Christmas Day games, Mike, and we're gonna talk a little bit about them and talk about players from the teams and like things that stand out. And we'll go chronological order, Mike. Does that make sense? Let's just go in
It
order
makes
the games
sense.
happen.
Yeah.
All right.
You go
So
ahead.
I
I'll
will
give you the
admit I
first
will
pick.
admittedly say that I did not watch any of the first game because I was doing Christmas lunch slash brunch stuff going on. So I will admit to not watching it, although I was grief stricken when I saw that the Knicks beat the Bucks. So obviously, it seems like the first quarter dictated the game, and the rest of the game was pretty even. Um, Giannis had a good game. Brunson once again, 38, 4 and 6. Giannis
All
32,
right. So give
13
me
and
your
6.
player, man. Who's your player? Just give me a player from one of those two teams. Let's
Let's
talk
talk.
about
Let's
that
talk about
player.
Brunson just because he's been all over the news this week
Okay.
about people calling him out. Or was what's her name? Right? Was it in
Becky Hammond said she was
Becky
short.
Hammond?
Becky Hammond said he was too short to be a number one player on a championship team, which I don't know if him being short or not being short has anything to do with it. I don't think he's the best player on a championship team,
I agree with that.
but
And
he's a
she
very, very good
apologized.
player.
She apologized after that, saying she was basically just trying to say like he's not in the LeBron
Right.
tier
Of
of
course.
athletes, which but the way she portrayed it or stated it probably could have been better. Is basically what she ended up saying. Like when she kind of slightly retracted the statement, right? Is that
Correct.
correct?
I don't think anybody would argue that Jalen Brunson is a top tier 1A championship caliber player. I don't think anybody's arguing that. I think Jalen Brunson probably is. I don't even know if he can be your second best player on a championship team. I think he's probably your third best player on a championship team. To me, I think that's kind of where he slots just because he is a liability on defense. I mean, he's putting up 26 a game and he's having a great year. He's
Yeah.
shooting almost 50% from the field. He's shooting 45%, almost 46% from three, dishing out 6 assists. He's having a fantastic, phenomenal year for the Knicks. But I think the argument that I don't think anybody's making the argument that he's a number one player on a championship team. And who knows with the Knicks, Mitchell Robinson's out and Jericho Sims, their backup center or guy who was starting in place of Mitchell Robinson, is out. So I was a little bit surprised to see the result of that game. The Knicks played really well. The Bucks, I think the thing that people have been talking about all season with them and what we saw in that game on Christmas is they just have a deficiency when it comes to perimeter defense, especially when you start talking about their ability to guard point guards. They just really don't have anybody on the perimeter that can guard a guy like Jalen Brunson. And that kind of showed through. And despite the fact that their Bucks offense, I think right now they're the third ranked offense in the league, which is translates to NBA history as the third ranked offense in the history of the league because of how offensive minded this season has been. The Bucks championship hopes are going to come down to can they get their defense to a reasonable level, and I think it was on the low post if I'm not mistaken, but when their four best players are on the floor, so Giannis, Lopez, Lillard, and who am I missing? Middleton. When those four guys are on the floor, they have their defensive rating would be the number one defense in the league in the minutes that those guys have played together. So I
But they
think
haven't played many
Milwaukee,
minutes together, basically,
they have
right?
not played,
Because
right. They have not played very many minutes
Middleton's hurt,
together.
or
Correct. They have not played very many minutes together, but I think if they get it together, they'll have an opportunity. So look, Brunson, great player, having a great year, not the best player on a championship team, debatable as the second best player on a championship team. And I would argue probably best fit as the third best player on a championship team. With
okay.
that's nothing to sneeze at. Brunson's a great player. Any team would love to have a guy like that. Tough, physical, hard to guard, clutch. It just felt like I know we talked about this last year in that playoff series with the Cavs. It felt like Brunson could get whatever he wanted when he wanted it. And so Brunson's a good player, just not at the level that is going to lead a team to a championship by himself. Let's put it that way. All right, the Bucks. Chris Middleton. I think when you start looking at what the Bucks are, I think you have three guys that as long as they're healthy, you kind of know who they are and what you're going to get, right? Giannis, clearly a potential MVP. Third in that initial straw vote where he was behind Embiid and Jokic, which probably rightfully so, but Giannis is as good as he's ever been. And then Lillard, you know what you're going to get out of Damian Lillard on the offensive end, and you know you're not getting a whole lot of him on the defensive end. And then Brook Lopez, you're going to get good defense. He's going to be able to knock down threes and spread the floor. Pretty consistent player. And then Middleton is just the guy that he's the wild card. What Chris Middleton are the Bucks going to get for the remainder of the year, and how much of what Chris Middleton, when he's at his best, how much of that can he bring to the table night in and night out? Right now, in the regular season, he's played in 25 games and he's averaging 24 minutes a game, shooting 48% from the field, 37% from three, averaging 13.8 points per game. I don't think at that level, you're probably going to need more out of Middleton than what you're getting there. And I think the other thing is that he hasn't been nearly as good defensively as he was the year the Bucks won their title, and he just doesn't have the same level of a mobility coming off these injuries. So I think moving forward, to me, he's the bellwether for what Milwaukee is going to become.
Yeah. I mean, if he's not healthy or he's not able to play, I think they're the third best team in the East at best. I think the Celtics and the Sixers are better than them if Middleton's not there. I don't know.
There's a regular season team. I still think you match up Milwaukee and Philadelphia in the playoffs, and I would bet on Milwaukee every single
Without
time.
Middleton, without Middleton,
Without Middleton, yeah, without Middleton.
no,
I just don't trust.
I'm not.
I don't trust Embiid, man. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. We'll get to that. We'll get to
Okay.
that. All right, next game. Go
All right,
ahead. Pick
next
your
game,
pick your
Golden
guy
State
from.
losing to Denver. I'm gonna pick Jokic, and here's why I'm going to pick Jokic. It's not for the stats. It's for the fact that he shot 18 free throws yesterday. What a joke. I I don't know. I watched bits
Come
and
on,
pieces of
Steve
that game.
Kerr. Come on,
No,
Steve Kerr.
I'm on Steve Kerr's side on this one. I'm on his side a little bit. Like, listen, I love Jokic as a player, but there were at least 4 times that he supposedly got fouled, that he flopped around like he was a dead fish, like out of water, and they called fouls and he got free throws because of it. Four that I can think of on the top of my head. Mike. I don't know.
All right, here's what I'll
They
say.
they got
I
to
am
fix
not a
that.
huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of guys flopping for fouls and getting calls. I'm not a huge fan of that. And yet, at the same time, I will say that playing against players who know how to draw fouls, that is a skill. The ability to draw a foul, make a facial expression, contort your body in such a way that convinces the referee that you got fouled. There are just some guys that have a knack for doing that. And then there are other guys who seemingly get hacked all the time and never get a call. And I don't necessarily think it has to do with how talented the player is or what their stature is in the league. I just think it has to do with some guys are really good at drawing fouls and some guys are not. And I can speak to, again, my playing career is, we are a long way removed from that, but I just
You
know
went to
that
the
there
free
are
throw line a
guys that,
lot, Mike.
what's that?
You were Jokic, weren't you? You were flopping
No,
around.
I was not. I was not a guy that went to the free throw line. I mean, obviously, depending upon how much offense you play and how much you have the ball in your hands, you get to the free throw line more or less based on that. But I was never a guy that felt like I was great at drawing fouls. The guy I always think of is Kenny Mouse McFadden, who played for Cleveland State. Those of you who are old like me might remember that Mouse led Cleveland
I
State to
never
the upset of
never I never heard of Jimmy Mouse McFadden, Mike.
Kenny. Look him
Or
up, man.
Kenny.
Cleveland State. You're too young. But anyway, played against Mouse, pick up basketball, and he just had a way of being able to draw fouls and did that during regular games and whatever. But there are lots of guys that are like that just can draw fouls and know how to do that. And so I think that as much as you might think, whatever, their refs are bailing them out and this and that, a guy who has the ball a lot and shoots a lot and knows how to draw fouls, it's a skill. And look, it's not one that necessarily I love seeing get rewarded, but it is something that players are good at. Jokic is good at it. Obviously, James Harden in his day was good at it. Trae Young is very good at it. It makes people angry, but nonetheless, it's a skill. So I get it. And I never like to see coaches whining about referees. I much prefer to see coaches coaching their team. And that goes for anybody, not just Steve Kerr.
Okay.
All right. So I'll go with Golden State. And I think you have to go with Draymond, even though he's not there, because since he's been gone, I think now they're 4-2 after that loss yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, since he's been gone.
Yeah.
And look, they're not better without him because of what he brings to the table on the defensive end of the floor and what he brings as a passer and connector and all the things that he's done for the last 10 years for the Warriors. But maybe it's a case where his personality has just worn out the guys who've been around him for 10 years. I got to
Yeah.
imagine that Steve Kerr is worn out. And as much as Klay Thompson and Steph Curry might love Draymond, at a certain point, you got to start looking at the guy going, dude, like, what are you doing? So it'll be interesting to see A, when Draymond comes back, B, how the team continues to play without him, and then C, when he does eventually return, how do the Warriors react to that in terms of reintegrating him? And then how does he behave when he comes back from that suspension? Is there a change
Behave.
in his behavior? Is there a
Behave.
change? Is there a change in his behavior? Does the suspension have any effect on the way that he puts himself out there on the floor, or are we going to get crazy Draymond the way we've gotten him for the last, I guess, year since he punched Jordan Poole? And I don't think the guy's going to change. I would be stunned if he does. And look, the Golden State run of being a legitimate title contender is over. I know I made the case that the title in 2022 feels like, again, I don't know if fluke is the right word, but it felt like a very, very strange NBA championship. It didn't feel like that was a team that was the best team. And I know they won it, and kudos to them, but it was a weird feeling. I just don't think of that team as being a championship team. And I guess I'll leave it there.
All right. We're moving to the next game, the Boston Laker game. And this was the game I probably watched the most bits and pieces of. I did not watch it live, but I did catch it on NBA TV today, Mike. It was on NBA TV. So I did catch a little bit of it. The Celtics dominated, and I'm gonna pick KP. I'm gonna talk about Kristaps Porzingis because I think if Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, that the Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA. I'm willing to say that if he's healthy and the rest of the team is humming the way they've been humming, Jason Tatum doesn't even. I mean, uh, he's just so good, and Porzingis, he just comes out there and just does his business when he's out there. But his big thing is this: he's got to stay healthy. He's so injury prone. I would give it a 40% chance that he stays healthy, like because he's going to get hurt because that's just what his mo is at this point. But when he's out there, he just spaces the floor so much. He creates lanes. He allows he draws the bigs out because he can shoot the basketball, and then he can put the ball on the floor. He had a really nice move. Did you see that really nice move he had to the basket yesterday, Mike?
He's good attacking closeouts when somebody comes out on him because he has such a quick release and then he's able to
Yeah,
attack. So yeah, he
but
does.
he like I honestly think if he stays healthy and that team's rolling, this might be the Celtics year, Mike. It really might because I don't know who in the long run can in a 7 game series how anyone's going to match up with them. I mean, when you look at that starting lineup, you go Drew Holiday, Derek White, Porzingis, Tatum, Brown. I mean, Derek White's the fifth best player. Where would he be on the if you were talking about on the Cavs starting five right now? Like I know obviously Mobley's been out, Garland's been out, and Mitchell's been out, but like I probably put Derek White like as the third best starter if we're healthy, right?
It's fair.
Like
That's fair.
I mean, I don't know. I just think that and that's their worst starter. Their biggest problem is their bench is kind of weak, right? I mean, when you look at
Relative to
this
their
and
starting five for sure.
yeah. I mean, Horford's solid. I mean, but he's old man now at this point, and I guess you know Pritchard's probably their second best player off the bench. But listen, I just think Boston is really really good, and I think that it's going to be hard to beat them. So that's my stance on Boston and Kristaps Porzingis. If he's healthy, they're. But if he's not healthy, I think they're very beatable.
Porzingis is definitely key to them winning a championship. I mean, I think he gives them a dimension and puts them at a level where their five can make up for the conversation that we always have about Jason Tatum. I don't think Tatum is that guy. I don't think Tatum is. I'm putting this team on my back and I'm going to take you through 4 playoff series. Obviously, he's capable of having huge games, which we've seen him do. But I don't think that sustained wise, I just don't think he's good enough with the ball in his hands, generating free throws, generating plays for other people. I just don't think he has that capability at the highest level. That's nothing against Jason Tatum. I think he's a very good player. I just don't think he's at that highest level of NBA superstar. And so Porzingis gives them a dimension that they just didn't have. You have to guard him on the perimeter. He's got such a quick release. He's such a good shooter. He can attack closeouts. He can post up smaller guys, which he wasn't able to do earlier in his career nearly as effectively. And then you think about what he brings to the table as a 7'3" dude who maybe he's not as mobile as he was in his days with the Knicks before his leg injuries. but he's
Yeah.
still a guy who's 7'3" with a long wingspan that can alter shots and move and do things. And he's not a 7'3" stiff that can't get out and guard people. He can move to enough of a degree that he makes the Celtics effective, as you said. They can switch basically everybody for sure with their four guys with White, Drew Holiday, and then the two Jays. Those four guys can clearly switch across multiple positions. And then Porzingis, I think, is probably capable in some circumstances, and certainly his rim protection is valuable. So yeah, I think Porzingis is definitely the key to the Celtics season, whether or not he stays healthy. And if he does, then they're going to be right there at the end, knocking on the door to win the title. I still don't think they win the title because I don't think when it comes push to shove, I don't think Jason Tatum goes toe to toe with whoever he's going to need to go to toe with over the course of the last 2 or 3 series. I just think at some point they get beat, but we'll see. Porzingis is definitely the key. And then on the Lakers, I'm going to go with LeBron. And I know that he's a guy that on the Christmas game, he didn't really, I mean, it wasn't LeBron's best effort. Let's put it that way. AD had a big game. LeBron was very pedestrian in that game. And I just feel like the Lakers, you look at them since they came out of the in season tournament, they really haven't done a whole lot. And if you look at their record, I think they were 4-0 in pool play, and then they went 3-0 to win the in season tournament. So in season tournament, they're 7-0. And in games that were not part of the in season tournament, they're 9-15. And I know that's not an apples to oranges comparison because some of those in-season tournament games obviously counted as regular
They're
season
actually
games.
10-15 because they're 10-15 because the championship game is a nothing game. It means nothing,
Sorry, you're
Mike.
right. Sorry,
So I
you're
want
right.
to give them a
So
little bit. I want to give them a little bit
got
more
it.
credit.
Got it. So anyway, I think the Lakers, when you look at where they are and where they stand, obviously LeBron and AD have both been healthy. I think combined they've missed, I think 5 games, if I'm not mistaken. And if you would have told Lakers fans that, hey, those two guys are going to miss 5 games in the first 31 and you're going to be 16-15, that would make people a little bit worried. And so I think if you're LeBron looking around going, hey, we've only missed 5 games and this is our record, I think what you're going to start to see is LeBron's going to start to put some pressure on Rob Pelinka to make some kind of a deal. And I don't know what that deal
Yeah,
looks like and who they have to package, but I don't think the Lakers roster today is what the Lakers roster is going to look like heading into the playoffs. Let's put it that way. So,
yeah, I agree. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna drop.
yep, next
All
game.
right, I'm at the 76ers, Mike. Now, obviously, Embiid's hurt. I'm not choosing Embiid. I'm taking Kelly Oubre.
Okay.
The guy got hit by a car, and the last night he dropped 25 points.
Played 40
I'm really
minutes,
happy.
baby.
I'm really happy for Kelly Oubre. Like they were
Three
saying, he
assists
was
for three
super.
assists for Kelly Oubre.
That a
He was
steal and a
dishing it,
block,
man. He was
steal and
dishing
a
it,
block,
baby.
6 of 3, 6 of 9 from three. Listen, I'm giving Kelly Oubre a lot of credit. That guy got hit by a car. He was seriously injured. He's come back and he had a heck of a game yesterday. I know they lost the Heat, but still, it's pretty impressive. Listen, that game, as soon as I saw that Embiid wasn't playing, got zero interest for me. I'm gonna be honest with you because I thought for sure Miami was gonna walk away with the win, and they hung in there. And Miami actually, it was tied going into the fourth quarter. I ended up turning it on and watching bits and pieces of the fourth quarter. I was flipping between that and the NFL game. So, um, yeah, listen. I'm giving Kelly Oubre the flowers that he deserves. 25 points, Mike. There you go, Kelly Oubre.
Kudos to Kelly Oubre. Had a great season, and at this point, you got to say he's an important part of what the Sixers can do. Embiid out with the ankle obviously put a damper on this game, and as we talked about last week, Embiid has been on an absolute tear, and right now he's the front runner at the whatever we are quarter pole, third of the way through the season poll of being the MVP. But for Joel Embiid, none of it matters, and for the Sixers, none of it matters until you get to the playoffs. So Oubre's been an important part of what they've done so far. Kudos to him for coming back from the car crash, and boom, Philly. All right, Miami. Jaime Jaquez.
Oh
This
yeah,
dude,
yeah, 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 yeah. That
this
guy,
dude has
he's
been
got he's
killing it.
You wish he had his hair, Mike. That's what you wish.
Absolutely. No, I don't. I did not. I never. Even if I had the capability of growing his hair, I would never have his hair. I don't know how you play basketball with hair down to your shoulders. That is beyond me. Completely beyond my grasp of reality. But Jaquez has been great for the Miami Heat. And when you start looking at a guy who can impact the game in a ton of different ways, good passer, good shooter, tough, smart, just a guy that when you start looking at who's going to be first team all rookie, I mean, Jaquez is clearly probably after the top two. Jaquez is probably he's probably number three. Him or Brandon Miller, I would say, are probably the next two that are in line to be first team all rookie this year.
Scoot, where are
And
you,
certainly
Scoot?
nobody,
Where are you, Scoot?
no, Scoot is not under consideration at this point. Scoot is not under consideration. But Jaquez has just been a high IQ guy, a guy that has fit in beautifully with what Miami already has. And it's interesting when you watch their team, he's already become a very, very important part of what they do, both as part of the bench unit and then when he mixes in with the starters as well. And I still don't necessarily buy into Miami, but I didn't buy into them last year and they went all the way to the finals. So what do I know? Jaquez has been a huge addition for the Heat, and he's going to be a huge addition going forward in the playoffs. So Jaime Jaquez, Miami Heat.
Hey, I
Last
want to
game,
throw
go.
another rookie. I'm going to throw another rookie into the ring there. Craig Porter Jr.
Sure.
is going to make an all rookie team, right? If he continues to play at his level, like it might be third team. He's got to.
Maybe. I mean, if he's got to get minutes. If he keeps getting minutes, if Garland and Mitchell, I mean Mitchell's obviously missed quite a few games and Garland's going to miss a ton more. Yeah, if Craig Porter Jr. gets minutes, I would have to think that he's going to get some consideration
There
for.
you go.
I don't know if they go out to third team, but for sure second team. Maybe they do a third team all rookie. I don't know, but
All
he's
right.
been good so far out of nowhere. Certainly nobody expected that.
The last game, the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to choose to discuss. I'm going to choose to discuss Devin Booker, and here's why.
Okay.
Devin Booker had the audacity last night that when he threw a ball, not a great pass to Metu. Did you see this play? Did you see this play?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah,
saw this play.
Metu, and then he yelled at Metu about him not coming back on defense. Devin Booker, calm yourself because I've seen you play many a basketball game, and I've seen you make many of a mistake and then just stand there with your hands on your head pouting. I'm
There was a lot
disappointed.
of there was a lot of that from Phoenix in that game.
There,
I know
I will
there
say
was a
I
driving
built
by
built
Durant. Durant got stripped and he stood there. There's
Bill,
Durant.
Bill Simmons made a great point on the pod. I don't know if you listened to it today or not, but he said the body language doctor for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Phoenix Suns are not very good right now. That's what he said.
I
He
would
said that on the
I would
podcast.
agree.
The,
I would
the body
completely agree.
language doctor is not good.
Durant just looks he just looks exasperated all the time out on the floor. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I can't get guys to do anything. And I don't know if Durant's still leading the league in minutes, but he's averaging like 37 minutes a game, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And your guy Booker, Luka was just ready. Luka was ready. So I'm going to talk about Luka, and we can do that in conjunction with Booker. Luka was just
What was
he was spectacular.
Lucas? What's with Lucas headband last night? Come
The
on, man.
headband Luca is sweet, man. Headband Luca. It's just it almost feels like he's like mocking people. He's like, I'm gonna look as goofy as I can and then still drop 50 on your head. That's what it feels like to me when I watch
He's like
them.
he's like he's like so. It's like when the guy pulls up at the rec center and he's playing
Yeah.
and
Right. He's
he
just
just
trying to right.
torches you.
So the white men can't jump, you're trying to throw him off the scent, and then he's just killing dudes. He was he was spectacular last night. And just scoring in so many different ways. I mean, he was 8 of 16 from three and got to the basket. He's just so strong and powerful. And there's nobody I there's nobody that has better footwork inside the key than Luca. I mean, he just gets in there and he knows how to use his body. He knows how to pivot and take advantage, get guys off balance, and then boom, he just is scoring over the top of him. And his passing, he is just so incredibly strong. There's so many times where he gets to positions where he'll pick up his dribble and he'll be doubled, and all of a sudden the ball's flying across court, hitting a dude right in the hands for a three, or he'll get stuck down inside, and it seems like he's surrounded by like three guys, and all of a sudden he's throwing this wraparound pass out to the corner. He just is an unbelievable passer from a vision standpoint, but also just from a strength standpoint. Some of the releases and just amount of times he's being guarded by multiple guys and he's still able to get the pass out to somebody so they can score. It's just phenomenal. And I think he has a special place in his heart for Devin Booker and the Suns. And he doesn't mind saving some of his best performances for Phoenix. And he certainly did that last night. He was unbelievable. And I think with Luka, the question still is moving forward, what is the best kind of team to put around him? And if he was on a better team with better options and better
Yeah.
offensive players, what would his play look like? I do think as I was watching him last night, I just kept thinking about Larry Bird and how Bird would probably play almost an identical game to Luka if Bird had grown up and was playing in this era in terms
Well,
of the
his
ability to
grandson's
shoot.
playing, right?
Who's grandson?
Larry Bird's grandson's playing in like high school, and he
Yeah, I do
taunts
know that.
people
He's
all the
supposed to be good,
time.
right? Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah. I think I saw a video of that at some point. But I just think Bird, to me, Luca is like the generational evolution of Bird. And they don't play exactly the same because the eras are different. But I think if you plopped Luca into Bird's era, he would play like Bird. And I think if you plop Bird into this era, I think Bird would play a lot like Luca. He'd have the ball in his hands a lot more, operating as a guard rather than forward. You would just put
yeah.
the ball in Larry's hands and be like, "Hey, man, just go do your thing." And Luke is just spectacular. The things that he can do and the passes that he can make and the shots that he gets, all while again being a very good athlete, but not an explosive athlete by NBA standards by any means. So that's it, man. We did it.
That's it. Yeah. Um. Are we gonna celebrate a little bit for a second?
Sure, I'll give you 30 seconds. Go.
Listen, they're in the playoffs, right? I mean, I know they're not officially, but they have to have a catastrophe of things to happen, including like all these other teams have to win all their games and and whatnot. But man, oh man, is this exciting or what, Mike? Are you excited for Cleveland Browns playoff? Do you have Flacco fever, Mike? Are you buying in? Flacco fever.
I mean, you have to some degree, right? I mean, he's been really, really good. And look, I've said it all season long. If the Browns get average to above average quarterback play with their defense, they're going to have a chance to beat anybody. And I don't look at anybody, honestly, in the entire league and say that there would be, you put the Browns out on the field. I'm not saying that the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying by any means. But there's no team in the league that you could
You
put on the
feel like
field across from the Browns, and I feel like we would have no chance against. That's what I'm saying. I think anybody. Look, we would not be favored against all these teams, but I do feel like because of our defense, that gives us a chance in just about any game. Now we're gonna have to sort out the kicking game if both the punter and Dustin York are both out, then you got to get that figured out before the playoffs. But I'm assuming they will. I'm assuming those guys will get healthy. Bjork and
at the
Bojorquez
same
and
time though, as with us saying, with you saying everything you just said there, would you be surprised if we came out in the first round of the playoffs and played against the AFC South team and just got lit up? Would you be
no, I
surprised?
wouldn't be surprised. No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Would not be surprised at all if that
There's only
happened.
like a
But at the same
fraction of me
time,
that would be surprised because the Stefanski's 10-0 against the AFC South.
yeah, I mean that doesn't. I mean, again, that won't matter. It doesn't really matter. I think, yeah, we could easily lose in the very first round. Don't get me wrong, but I also don't think there's a team that you could put out there that I would say,
I
oh
mean,
God, we have no
if we had to
chance.
play Kansas, I would love to play Kansas City in the first round. I think we would. I think we would manhandle them. I think we would manhandle them. Manhandle. I want
I don't think they'd
payback
have
for 3
anybody.
years
I
ago.
don't think that. Yeah, I don't think they'd have anybody to throw to. I agree. I think the Browns would lock them up pretty easily. And I guess it makes you nervous. Still, it's like I always say, I don't like playing against running quarterbacks and going all the way back to John Elway. Just when you have a guy that you have completely wrapped up, and then suddenly they can take a 3rd and 8 and make it into a first down. So I get a little nervous going against guys that can run, but I still think that the amount of pressure that this defense puts on quarterbacks, and then our secondary, although they're banged up, if we have, if you have, um, who am I thinking of? Who's our good
Ward,
corner? Ward.
Ward,
Yeah, thanks. And so if you
Martin
have those,
Emerson Jr. and his 3 penalties in the first
yeah,
quarter.
and Newsom, if you have those 3 guys, I just think the defense is good, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah,
So they should win the next 2 weeks. I mean, again, you should go in there 12. You should go in there 12-5. I mean, unless the last game is meaningless and you just play whoever. But
yeah,
I think you should win the last 2 games. So we'll see. Thursday night, we're only a couple days away.
yeah. That's the nice thing about Thursday Night Football. You can get the game and get excited for it on Thursday.
There
I'm
you go.
excited for it.
All right,
All right.
let's leave it there. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And we will catch you on our next episode.